Hey, Riddle here. So, I have a story to share with you and an observation. Often, my critical thinking and observations are met with some pretty interesting aggression, but rarely with a poignant argument. But I'm going to share with you this odd experience I had once again at the dollar store. There's something about the dollar store that always procures these bizarre interactions with people. Okay, so I'm going to tell the story exactly how it happened, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on something at the dollar store. And because of COVID, they have the markings on the floor that you have to stay 6 feet from each other. Now, sometimes that can get a little confusing for people because you have to line up backwards and sometimes down through some of the aisles. So anyone who shops frequently at the dollar store understands the protocol, though. So I'm in line doing my 6 foot thing, and all of a sudden, this old white guy comes trolling up and decides he's going to make his own line. Now, I hate to say this, but it was definitely a boomer move, that weird, crazy sense of entitlement, which often I will challenge, but this is one of those days. And I was just looking at him and going, well, I have more time on this planet than you, so I'm going to choose my battles today, and I'm not going to make a fuss. If that's the best you can do, I'm going to let you go ahead and take your power. So sad. So then the next thing that happened was really crazy because I noticed he had batteries. And so I said to him, this isn't the best place to buy batteries. Generally, the batteries here, they run out of power pretty quickly. And he went on to tell me that he, basically didn't want to pay the exorbitant price for batteries at the local store, which I understand. And he was trying to find batteries that weren't made in China because, the whole Chinese virus thing. So he was obviously a Trumper. And he obviously has this thing against China. Now, I understand, but we as consumers have not only supported, but we have created the dependency on China as a manufacturer. And China has paid a huge price for that, but they've also made a huge profit for that. But as he's going on and on more and more about China and the Chinese virus and everything, again, I'm faced with this dilemma. Is this going to be my fight today or not? Because my spouse is Chinese. And when people talk like that, he basically is, it creates hatred. And it can create people with lesser intelligence to aggress against Asian Americans, even if they're not Chinese, because most Americans don't even know the difference between a Korean, a Japanese, a Chinese, a Filipino. I'm sorry, but most Americans are ignorant. So, that being said, I kept my mouth still, and then he next move was to bring up the apocalypse. He was like a Christ person too, and so that was my final straw because I said to him, I said, well, we deserve basically what's happening to us right now because the way we've treated the earth. And if I was God or a God and I made this perfect plan, this perfect planet, and the people who were supposed to be the stewards of that planet, according to the Bible, trashed it, why would I have any kind of sympathy or empathy for them or want to save them? It's really illogical if you think about it. It's bullshit. And he was like, oh, boop, 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 boop. And then he's like, well, he didn't create a perfect planet. And he's like backpedaling because he wasn't prepared for me to challenge him like that. And he had a couple other little things that I had, it was pretty clear to him that I wasn't going along with his plan. But then something else really weird happened. So 2 of the lanes opened up. And so he had already made the whole thing so confusing by creating his own line that I went over to the lane that opened up to the far left. Well, the cashier, where he was waiting in line, thought I was cutting ahead of him and said, hey, he should go in line first. And then he jumped her ass. And he basically said, oh no, let him go. And he basically told her off. And then she was all pissed off at him because she was trying to help him out. So basically he was just one of these people that really needed a lot of attention and was really cantankerous, is the word, cantankerous. But here is my point about the Christian connection and also the boomer connection in regards to not taking any responsibility for the planet in regards to climate change or even pollution. Okay, let's say you want to argue climate change. Well, you can't argue the fact that we can't drink out of any river or swim in any river, and most of our lakes and large bodies of water are so polluted that they are, inaccessible, unhealthy. And I could go on and on and on about all the environmental diseases that are killing so many people because of poor air and all the toxins and everything. So a lot of these people and the boomers, I think they love to deny climate change, and they love to get on this biblical apocalyptic ride, because what it does is that it admonishes them. It removes them from taking any actual responsibility for their children or their grandchildren's future. The fact is, they had a great run of it, and they were the alphas economically. And I think in a way also, if they were to own the fact that they helped to trash the planet and are leaving shit for the kids and the grandkids, it would challenge their superiority, and it would also force them to have to make some sacrifices and actually take some responsibility for the mess that we're leaving the kids. And they just can't do it. They cannot do it. Their egos are so inflated and fragile. So with the Christians, and I've met many of these people, and the idea that because it's written in this book that it's going to happen, they're seeing everything that's happening right now that has been told by science for decades that this is the way it was going to happen if we didn't do anything, as the apocalypse. It's the second coming of Christ. It's bullshit, is what it is. And again, it just gives them all this green light not to do anything, not to recycle, not to support laws or politicians that are doing things to try to reverse climate change and secure their children's future. No. We're just going to do nothing and put all our cards on this mythical text that says it's going to end. And so because it's going to end, all of this must be a sign that what's written in this interpretation of ancient Arabic, which who knows how they actually interpreted that with any level of precise accuracy. We're just going to go there instead of doing the right thing that I would think a higher power or a God would want us to do, and that is do everything in our power to save the planet and preserve the gift of life that has been given to us here on planet Earth, because it's the only planet that we know of right now that possesses these perfect conditions to support life. So, that being said, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you, even if you had this belief, why wouldn't you do everything in your power to try to help and preserve and reverse the damage we've already done to this planet? And you can't say that we haven't done damage to this planet, because if we haven't done any damage to this planet, you could go and drink out of any river, or drink out of any ocean. You could, there'd be no pollutants in the air. There'd be no carcinogens and microplastics and all these things that are creating all these health issues. And 70% of the animal and insect population wouldn't be dead or dying. You know, if you really believe in a God and a higher power, you have to understand that they made this very complex web of life, and we can't just choose to take away what we want. You know, you can't remove 70% of it and expect things to run the same. And I believe, especially if you have made the choice to bring life onto this planet, that you have a moral duty to do everything in your power to preserve this planet for the next generations. You know, people always glamorize and dignify the Native American culture. And my father is Chippewa, and I'm a card-carrying member of the Chippewa tribe. And when the Native American people made a big decision in regards to anything, it was always based on this rule of 7 generations. In other words, when a big decision had to be made, they looked at it as how it would affect possibly 7 generations going into the future. And this brought incredible scrutiny and wisdom before they had this final, this final decision within the tribe. So I challenge you people who are Christians and believe verbatim what the Bible has to say. Do you think your God made this planet for you to destroy? And then just say, oh, well, it says here there's going to be an apocalypse, so I don't have to do a thing anyways because everything's just going to get destroyed. Do you think that's a good way of thinking? I honestly wouldn't want anything to do with that God and I don't have anything to do with that God, because I believe in reality, and I believe that we have the power and the intellect to make change and to make choices to better ourselves and to reverse the damages that have done on this planet. But I also believe that the party's over, and yes, we are going to have to make sacrifices. And what's wrong with some sacrifices? Have we become such spoiled, rotten beings that we think we're beyond having to give something up? I mean, when you're looking at Americans and the excess and the obesity rate, which is actually shortening life expectancies for the first time in decades, in generations. I mean, the fact that these new generations are going to die young because they eat too much. Do you understand the craziness with that? Do you think it would kill us to maybe not eat meat 3 times a day, or maybe not even eat meat 7 times a week? To give up maybe just like 1 day? Is that going to kill you? Is it going to kill you to remember to take bags with you to the grocery store and use those bags over and over again? They've done this in other countries for decades. We're just behind on a lot of things, but our American ignorance and arrogance just doesn't allow us to partake in the global, the global effort, I'm going to say. It always really pisses me off when here I am, single man, no kids, with reusable bags at the grocery store, and I always see these families, these people with all these kids buying bags, creating trash, and I'm like, why do I care? Why do I care? If you don't care about your own damn kids and you don't care about the future, why should I care? Well, I care. I care because I'm a moral human being. And I'm not moral because I have some guy up there in the sky policing me, and I don't have this biblical text dictating right from wrong. I have intelligence. I don't need to be policed. It's really simple to know right from wrong and to be good without God. Now, of course, if you need a deity to run your life, then great. I believe everyone should have the right to follow and believe in anything they want to. But please, do it with some sort of critical thinking, because I don't think it's fair to cherry pick science and technology and faith. If you're not going to believe and partake in science and technology, well, you shouldn't be watching this YouTube video right now. And you shouldn't have a cell phone, and you shouldn't have electricity, and you shouldn't be partaking in any other things that science created to make your life modern and convenient, because that's hypocrisy. So get on the boat, start helping to reverse the damage we've done to this planet, because if there is a God, that's what he'd want you to do. He would want you to respect his perfect creation. And I think that there's not a lot of argument around that. Okay. Bye for now. I'm sure I'm going to piss a lot of people off again. But anyway, bye.